Welcome to the Investors Trading Academy Economic Calendar of the Week. Each week, our news analysts review the upcoming economic events you should be monitoring. Stock markets around the globe crashed last week after disappointing Chinese and Eurozone data spooked the market, sending the VIX Fear Index into a record high. Speeches by Janet Yellen and Mario Draghi showed the central banks moving in opposite directions as Eurozone GDP fell lower again, while US inflation was a bit weak. The bevy of Fed speakers all seemed to point to a December rate increase. This week, traders will closely monitor US data, but are hoping for some hint from the Fed members on size of the rate increase, as the question moved to not if or when, but how many increases will the Fed have in 2016. Mario Draghi continues to drop increasing hints about an increase in Eurozone QE, which has driven down the euro but done little for stock markets. Economic news this week is dominated by inflation numbers from the Eurozone, UK, US and Canada, which will drive FX movements. Also of note will be German ZEW and UK retail sales. The week kicks off in the US on Monday with the Empire State Manufacturing Survey. UK consumer prices figures due out on Tuesday should also be monitored. The forecast from Credit Suisse was for CPI to stay put at a year-on-year rate of minus 0.1%. Low consumer prices were perhaps the chief factor weighing on the Bank of England's recent policy deliberations and the reason behind the dovish message it delivered after the last meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee. Later in the day, the focus in the US will be on monthly inflation data as well as industrial production. The Federal Reserve is closely watching all the economic indicators to determine if rates should be lifted in December. On Wednesday in China, the October figures on house prices are released. In the year to September, house prices were down 0.9%. In the US, the Federal Reserve releases minutes from the last policy-making meeting held on October 28th. Analysts will be going through the report with a fine-tooth comb for assurance that rates are set to rise at the December meeting. Later in the day, the October data on housing starts is released together with the usual weekly report on mortgage transactions, purchases and financing. Economists are tipping a 3.4% retracement in housing starts after the hefty 6.5% increase in September. The week slows down with little major data on Thursday and a quiet day on Friday. On Thursday, the leading index is released together with the influential Philadelphia Federal Reserve survey and the usual weekly data on claims for unemployment insurance. Economists tip an encouraging 0.4% lift in the leading index, while the Philly index is expected to improve from minus 4.5 points to 0.5 points.